The bells of Westminster hadn't rung like this in years. They echoed through the cobblestone streets of London, rolling across the Thames like an ancient call to attention. In Buckingham Palace, behind gilded doors and velvet-draped corridors, King Charles III began another day as Britain's monarch, a day filled with duty, tradition, and the delicate choreography of royal life. King Charles, once the longest-serving heir apparent in British history, had finally stepped into a role he had prepared for all his life. Yet being king was far more complex than cutting ribbons and waving from balconies. His mornings began early, not with leisurely breakfasts, but with a thick red box, a carefully organized case filled with government documents, policy updates, confidential briefings, and matters requiring his signature or attention. It was said that no matter where a monarch went, even during holidays, the red box followed, loyal and persistent as a royal shadow. Charles treated the work with surprising energy, scanning environmental initiatives, charity proposals, and reports from the Commonwealth. His voice echoed through quiet rooms as he discussed conservation projects, architecture, or the future of young people, a passion he had held since founding the Prince's Trust decades earlier. Even as king, he was determined to use his influence to guard the planet, preserve ancient forests, and inspire sustainable change. After the paperwork came audiences. Diplomats, prime ministers, ambassadors, community leaders, and ordinary citizens with extraordinary stories filled his schedule. Charles listened, truly listened, with that familiar, thoughtful gaze he had carried since youth. The king didn't command armies or directly shape laws. The monarchy's modern purpose was subtler. His job was to guide, unify, steady, and symbolize continuity in a rapidly shifting world. Yet King Charles was never alone in shaping the monarchy's image. The royal family was a constellation, each member shining, or at times stirring controversy in their own way. At the center stood Queen Camilla, his partner in both life and duty. Once misunderstood by much of the public, she had evolved into a warm and confident queen consort. She supported literacy programs, women's causes, and survivors of domestic abuse, often working quietly, preferring impact over publicity. Camilla had become Charles's steadying presence, offering counsel, laughter, and the sort of honesty he trusted deeply. Beyond the king and queen, the next generation carried the future of the crown. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, had settled into his role with a balance of seriousness and approachability. Tall, composed, and steady-tempered, he was already transitioning into the responsibilities he would eventually inherit. His work focused on homelessness, mental health, military support, and the environment, echoes of both his parents' passions. Beside him was Catherine, Princess of Wales, elegant yet relatable. She navigated royal life with a modern, gentle strength, developing initiatives on early childhood development and mental well-being. Her presence added calm to the monarchy, her smile disarming even the most skeptical critics. Their children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, were still young, but the public watched them grow with fascination. George, serious and observant, represented the monarchy's distant future. Charlotte's spirited personality seemed ready to rewrite expectations of royal daughters. Louis, with his playful antics during public events, had already become a beloved scene-stealer. Then there was Prince Harry, across the ocean, where California's sun replaced the gray skies of London. His stepping back from royal duties had caused ripples, some waves, some wounds, but he remained Charles's son, forever tied to the royal story. His life had taken a different path, yet the monarchy could never fully erase his presence from its narrative. His wife, Meghan, lived her own reinvention far from palace walls, shaping a chapter that mixed independence, controversy, and resilience. Yet the royal family extended further. Elder members like Princess Anne, Charles's hardworking sister, carried out an astonishing number of annual engagements. Known for her no-nonsense attitude and relentless schedule, she represented the monarchy's force of discipline. Prince Edward and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, maintained a steady presence as well, dependable, warm, and unassuming, often stepping into roles that required grace without glamour. Even more distant relatives, cousins, dukes, duchesses, filled the tapestry of palace duties and ceremonial roles. Though not all were household names, their contributions held the monarchy's shape together, like threads in an ornate tapestry. But the monarchy itself wasn't just made of people. It was made of tradition. The Trooping the Colour parade, the state opening of Parliament, investiture ceremonies at Windsor. Each event pulled the family onto a stage of centuries-old protocol. Charles moved through these ceremonies with reverence, aware that each bow, each step, each speech connected him to kings and queens stretching back 1,000 years. Yet the modern world constantly tugged at these traditions. Critics questioned relevance, supporters defended heritage. Charles navigated that line with care. He promoted modernization where he could, streamlining the family's roles, reducing excess, and emphasizing service over splendor. But he also protected rituals with a stern awareness that once lost, history could not be rebuilt. At times, he retreated into quiet reflection. In the gardens of Highgrove, where roses climbed trellises and rare trees whispered in the wind, Charles found peace. He walked with Camilla, or sometimes alone, thinking of his mother, the late Queen Elizabeth II, whose shadow stretched long across his reign. He often felt her presence, not in superstition but in memory, her calm, her discipline, her unwavering devotion to duty. He hoped he was honoring her legacy. Late at night, when the palace halls fell silent, Charles reviewed one last stack of documents before the red box closed. The world outside buzzed with politics, storms, technology, and change, but inside, the king carried out a role refined by centuries. Harder than it looked, more symbolic than powerful, but essential in its own way. The royal family, with all its triumphs and fractures, joys and scandals, continued to evolve. Children grew up, laws changed, public opinion shifted like the tides. But one constant remained: the monarchy's ability to adapt without losing its heartbeat. And at the center, King Charles III, gardener, environmentalist, listener, unifier, and monarch, wove his chapter into the long story of Britain's royal lineage.